not going out. I'm staying in today. He's like, fine, I get it. I FaceTimed him from here.
Nice.
That's it. I was just like, let's shake it a bit.
Yeah, I played lacrosse. I played on the lacrosse team with a bunch of those guys. You were younger, but I don't remember a ton of them.
Remember Blake McDonald from the lacrosse team?
Yeah, I used to drive him home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to go play down south in, I forget what school.
Somewhere.
He's fully tatted now. Fully. Like
it's crazy. I see guys like that from St. Mike's like 10 years later, and they're some guys like that are so different.
Yeah, and the guys who are like super jacked back in the day are like bald and like fat now. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, welcome to the pod.
We're going?
Yeah, we're rolling. We've been going for a couple minutes now.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, we sneak in there.
Everyone's reaction is always the same. Oh, we're rolling? We're going?
Yeah. Most better. Keeps it kind of like, lets it flow and kind of jump right in.
Yeah, how's my mic?
Pull it actually maybe a little bit, tilt up a little bit.
Tilt it.
Yeah, because getting a little bit quiet on yours.
We don't have those wireless ones that attach to your shirts like TSN.
Yeah, Sportsnet. Yeah, TSN, Sportsnet. I'm Team Sportsnet now.
Team Sportsnet. How'd that start?
Man, I actually got cold called. I was living at my cottage in the summer during the pandemic, and the VP of programming, his name's Rob Corte, does everything. So he's in charge of who's on every panel, whether talking in Canada or regional games, which my Oilers ones. And he's just like, hey, we're looking for someone who's recently retired, has interest, and it doesn't really have much going on. And I don't want to say not going on, like,
I
want to no prospects right now. But I really wasn't doing much. And he's like, we'd love you to, get on the panel, do some Oilers games. Do you have any experience doing anything like that? I said, no. And he's like, all right, well, let's circle back in the fall. And then he called me again and he's like, all right, I have 4 games for you lined up. They literally just threw me on the desk, which I thought was crazy. There's people that go to school for broadcasting and to do this stuff for like a job. And they literally put me on the desk and I was like, so what camera do I look at? Like, what's going on here? And so
what am I allowed to say? What am I not allowed to say? Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, they gave me the rundown. It's like absolutely no cursing. They were like, avoid like nicknames, like don't be calling guys like Smitty and this and that. Like that was my biggest thing. I'm like, because I played with all those Oilers guys, so I'm just doing the Oilers games now. But I'm like, last weekend we were on the national broadcast. They were both afternoon games, day games. So like the whole country, it was all on sport. Like my first couple were just Sportsnet West. So it was just like the small Edmonton population. So I had like a little tester. But these ones were like, everyone was texting me during the broadcast. And I was like, don't mess this up. Like, no, I couldn't call Connor like Davo and all these guys. So
is that his nickname, Davo?
I call him Davo, yeah. I don't know what his nickname is now, but for me, it was always Davo. But it's been fun. Like they just keep asking me to come back, so I must be doing something right. I did 4 games in 6 nights last week. Same thing, all Oilers.
Oh wow, that's sick.
But
so you're regular now.
I am, yeah. So I do all the Oilers road games pretty much.
Okay.
If they go to the US, so I think my next 2 are coming up. They go to like Dallas and Colorado on a back-to-back. So I'll do those 2 games, and I can do them all from the studio here in Toronto, which is great. It's at Bloor Mount Pleasant, so I don't have to go to Edmonton
You're not going anywhere
in the
far.
middle of the winter. Yeah, I literally just take an Uber down there, do the games, and thankfully those games are day games, so I was out of the studio. Some of the late games, I'm out of there pretty late, but I've got to meet some of the other personalities there too, Anthony Stewart and Caroline Cameron, and these people that, Elliot Friedman that I've been seeing on TV for years, and everyone's so cool and so professional. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Like the first 2 games, I was really nervous, and I was almost trying to like practice what I was saying, like rehearse it before, so like producer would talk about packs, highlight packs and stuff we're going to go over. And then by the end of it, I was just sitting there having like a conversation. I wasn't even writing stuff down anymore. My host, Gene Principe, was an absolute legend too. He would just ask me
forever too.
Yeah, he's been on it for a couple decades. And yeah, he would just talk and it was like talking with him, and the third person was just the camera for all the people back home. So it's been fun, something to do at least,
Yeah.
And I'll see where it goes from here. I want to get a little more involved in that because I've actually liked it more than I thought I would,
A little bit different, than grinding it out in the corners, dropping the mids.
It's definitely less stressful. Well, I don't even know if it is less stressful. The first time I drove there, I was flipping out. I was like, I think I'm more nervous than I am to go play. But I didn't have to scrap anyone, and I didn't have to go out there and hit anyone, so that was easier. But it was still like lights, camera, action. Like there's no time delay. Like as soon as like the lights come on, the cameras kind of swoop in, and then it's live, and it's like you kind of hide on the ice a little bit. You can't hide behind a camera on live TV. You can't just sink under your desk. So no, it's definitely been fun though.
Did you feel like even though you're nervous going, did you feel natural? Did it come easy to you, or were you like a little bit jitters? You really had to focus in the beginning.
I was more focused at the beginning because I was still getting the hang of it, and then Yeah, like I said, by the end of it, I think Thursday night was my last game. Edmonton was in Chicago. Yeah, it was just speaking natural. He'd ask me a question. I would kind of, compose myself, take a breath, look at the camera, finish my thought. But at the beginning, I was super nervous, and I was almost like not myself. And I think the head producer came down, and after my first game, he was like, you were great. He's like, just a little more don't be so polished. Like, this is just, people want to see the real you. They want to hear about your experiences. And like, he had a great thing for me the other day. He was saying there's typical things that you think are typical that the casual viewer would just, they wouldn't even see it, but you see it. He's like, talk about stuff like that, like little plays that you see, and like people think that stuff is really cool. So I've tried to like involve myself more personally and tell them about my personal experiences, because I did play for 11 years, right?
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I think about how now like Tony Romo.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, well, so Tony Romo, we talk about it in our group chat all the time. Like, so Tony Romo played in the NFL for 10 years or whatever. He starts broadcasting. He's like one of the greatest sports broadcasters right now, in my opinion, because he just sees the game, and he's like, "Oh, see the way that linebacker's taking 2 steps back? That means they're gonna blitz weak side." And then they snap the ball, and the guy blitzes weak side. You're like, "What the? How does he know that?" And it's like just the experience from playing the game for so long. They just pick those things up that people who watch it would have no idea.
I know, and I've always thought about Tony too, because it's different too. He's more like color, right? Yeah. So that's even more impressive for me though, because you have to be on your toes while it's happening. Yeah. If I'm an analyst during periods, I have that whole period
to watch
and analyze, and we can go back on clips, and I can say like, if I'm writing in my notebook, like, at 7:32, I saw a play. Can I see that again? I want to see if we can talk about that
during the TV timeout or whatever. Yeah,
hockey's just a little tougher to do what Tony does. Nothing against him; he's my favorite broadcaster in football. Hockey's just more fluid, right? Yeah. It's hard to see plays develop, and even if you see them developing, it can change so quickly. Whereas football's more set, and you can read defenses and stuff like that. But man, he's fun to watch. Yeah, he's probably like, if any time he's doing a game in the afternoon, usually I think it's CBS, right? Yeah, I like putting him on. But yeah, hockey's just a little more fluid for that. But
it's impossible to guess. Like, there's plays that are going to happen. Like power play, Ovechkin or Stamkos. McDavid. They're going to get the puck. But on like a 5-on-5 breakout or something, you're like, okay, like the puck can go anywhere.
Especially when I was playing, anything could happen. When I got the puck, I never knew where it was going myself. So,
as someone who's not a big hockey player growing up, I mean, I can rip a slap shot, but that's about it. Like you're saying, it's more fluid. So like essentially, whether you're on the ice or in the booth watching it, like, is it still very hard to dissect and see, like, if a breakout starting behind the net, like, it's very hard to anticipate what's coming, like the play could go any which direction?
Yeah, for sure. That's a good question because we always had set breakouts, and set breakout, the defenseman stops behind the net and the forwards swing down. So you can have 4 different options, and we don't do set. I don't play anymore, but hockey players don't do set breakouts a lot more now. The game is so fast. So coaches just want you picking up the puck and going all the time. These coaches are so aggressive, and they want so much speed. But if you stop behind the net, if you ever see a defenseman stop behind the net, he has like 4 different options. So you're looking to see what they do. If they're making a change, you can make a quick up all the way. You can wait for the center to come swing down. Like if I'm waiting for my center iceman, Connor McDavid, to come down, I'm probably just going to give him the puck and let him go. But there's just so many options that you can do simultaneously. That's why hockey is such a beautiful sport, is just because there's only 5 guys on the ice for you at one time, and 5 for both. But there's just so many split decisions that you have to make simultaneously, and everything can always change.
Yeah. And I guess there's less, like, you're going less from start and stop, whereas like football's kind of that one sport that you're every play's downing it. Like hockey, I mean, you're breaking for a face-off, but other than that, like on a breakout, everyone just circling the ice going nonstop.
Yeah, and I used to love games like that didn't have a lot of face-offs or penalties, just because you could get into this insane rhythm where if there was icings and penalties, the game was just offside, so stop and go. These games were so boring, but then we'd play. I'm trying to think of a good example of a team like Dallas. Dallas is a great example from them. They play so fast, and they hate stopping pucks, and it's just always moving. And I love those games because then I got to play more as well. Yeah. You're always matching lines. If you're at home and we have a defensive zone face-off and they send out Crosby and Malkin, I'm not going. Like, he's probably going to bring out one of our checking lines or our first line to play against them. So I used to love when the game was more
I want to ask you this. We've asked a couple of the athletes on this. Do you think home ice advantage makes a difference? So in hockey, the main difference between home ice versus opposing is that you get the second line change.
Yeah, you get last change and you get your crowd.
Yeah, well, crowd is
standard, but in terms of just
change,
just the sheer, lineups of it and stuff like that, yes, 100%. But it's stopped now. It's stopped now where I don't know. I don't know how to explain how there's less of a gap between the best and the worst players on the team anymore. I really think like you have your absolute all-stars, your McDavids, your Crosbys, all that. But even the fourth liners now can play 15 minutes a night. Yeah. Like back when I played, our fourth line only played 4 or 5 minutes. And it was basically a 2 to 3 line game where now coaches don't care about sending out their fourth line versus the top line. So you get last change still, but a lot of the teams that are really, really good, I saw Calgary play last night to beat Edmonton. They have 4 lines that you can play any of them against any other line. So it helps for sure, but the game has just changed so much where anybody can play against anyone and it really doesn't matter.
Okay, so helps a little, but not too much.
Not exponentially, I don't think. And then the obvious crowd. You go into a place, like Montreal has a pretty bad team this year, but that's a tough building to play in. Chicago, same thing, not a great team this year, tough building to play in. Madison Square Garden was always fun, and even a place like Winnipeg, Winnipeg's probably one of, if not the loudest rink in the league. It's only they're the least fans in the league.
14 or 13,000.
Yeah,
something small,
something around there. But it's a small building, small roof, and it's loud. Especially when we've come in there, play. It was always loud.
So it was kind of a rivalry, right?
Yeah, it's just close, and we always. I don't know. We were both kind of bigger and tougher, and it was just always a scrappy game. Like I knew I was always coming out of that game with ice packs all over my whole body. Like the plane rides home from Winnipeg were always a nightmare. I had a couple Advil and ice packs all over, and maybe a glass of wine, and I knew I was in one every time I walked into that rink.
Is there a game that sticks out to you, or that you were really took a real bad beating, like really felt it coming off the ice, or even like a player he matched up against that was really kind of a thorn in your side?
Well, there was that week. I remember that weekend. I wasn't talking about that weekend, but it was. So we went Saturday in Ottawa, and I played. So it was Hockey Day in Canada, and I fought Chris Neal that night. Do you remember Chris Neal? Over 2,500 PIMs in the league, lefty. I mean, I've seen him fight Ty Domi when I was coming down to the ACC when I was younger, and now I'm lined up against him. So I fought him center ice, I think in the second period, and we went like toe-to-toe for like a minute. Like just absolute bombs being thrown. And so I'm in like the box after, and I think we ended up coming back and winning the game. Like I had to check back on that. But in the dressing room after, I'm like, oh man, like I'm sore. My hands are all bloodied up. And so we get on the flight. We have a day off Sunday in Winnipeg. Then we play again. We play in Winnipeg on Monday. And the first period I fought Anthony Peluso, who was another huge, big guy my age. I actually played junior with him. He was actually like a friend of mine off the ice. But we fought for like a minute and a half, same thing, center ice, squared off, like another huge, like he's really tough to fight. He's like these big arms. He's so strong. And that's the first period. And then second period, I don't know if you've ever seen this clip. It's tough for me to watch. I got hit by Dustin Byfuglien on a suicide pass coming from my defenseman, and I didn't see him coming behind me. And I did I'm 6'4". I did a full flip on the ice, landed on the side of my head. Jesus. I split my whole chin open. I had staples in my chin. Little baby. I didn't get diagnosed with a concussion, but definitely didn't feel good. So they kept me out for the rest of the game, and I was just sitting on the plane like this after 3 days, just get me home. I'm done. I had ice packs on both shoulders, on my hands, and I'm just sitting there. It's times like that where I'm like, what am I doing here? How did I? It's like that TikTok. You're probably wondering how I got here. So I was sitting
Are you on TikTok?
I am. Yeah. I don't post. I'm more just scroll through.
I'm
gonna
make that one for you. I'm gonna
make. Put all 3 of those clips.
You're probably wondering how I got it.
There's a picture at the end. I have they had to shave my beard to put these staples in, and then my nose was over here, and both my hands were just completely scarred up, and I was just like, what's going on? How did I come from this little kid that wanted to play in the show to sitting here right now?
How'd I go from a goal scorer in the O to this?
Yeah, I don't know. Never really a goal, so I could score goals definitely, but no, it's definitely I had definitely a couple weekends like that. That was tough.
I want to ask, when you square up with a buddy, Like, you guys, like, you know your boys, like you and Luso, you said, you know your boys. You're like, hey, bro, we're doing this. Like, go easy on each other. Is it like, nah, we're enemies. We're on the ice. Like, I'm gonna hurt you.
No, well, I know with Palouse, even though I knew him off the ice, those were always battles. Like, we were never going easy on each other. I wouldn't say. I mean, I knocked out one of my best friends. I don't want to revisit that one, but and even a guy like, who's another one? Tommy Wilson, who's Toronto guy, trained with for years. He ran over someone's shocker. He ran over someone questionable hit when I was in Jersey, and I lined up beside him. I'm like, hey, we got to do it. Like, let's go. We got to do it.
I think you just kind of know at that point. You're like,
but even still, it's like, and even he just went like this. He goes, I know. But I mean, I'm not taking it easy, but as soon as I get, like, you get hit, it's on. Like, even if you're like maybe going and feeling each other out at the start, like, as soon as I get hit in the side of the face, I'm like, oh, all right, like, all right. So he's not going easy on me. Like,
I guess we're not boys.
Yeah, I guess we're not boys anymore. So even guys like that, in hockey, we always called it tummy sticks. That was like guys that are so buddy on the ice, and it's really come like in full force these days. You see guys like Chatty Cathy during games, like buddies will be laughing and like tapping each other in the shin pads. I had like zero time for that shit. Like, I was really good buddies with a lot of players that I played against, but for like that 60, you can just park that for like 60 minutes and just like go to war against one of your boys. And then, you see them in the summer at the bar, or, you see them on the road.
Cottage, Muskoka,
you can just see them wherever, and you just kind of reminisce on it. Like, no hard feelings, this and that. But, I had no time for guys that were just kind of like buddy on the ice.
The tummy sticks term I've never heard until Spitting Chicklets. Like, I used to listen to it a lot more, but I never heard that word tummy sticks until Spitting Chicklets.
Yeah, Biz loves it. Paul Bissonnette like loves it because it's. I'm pretty sure the origin is like on warm-ups when guys stretch kind of near the Red Wings. You give like a guy like a little tap kind of up here. I think that's where Biz got it from, but that's how I've known it. And yeah, it's just I always see that like in warm-up. I'm not like playing hard, tough guy, but I was always like sizing everybody up, looking who's in the lineup, like staring guys down, a little bit of intimidation factor. I wasn't like, hey, dude, what's going on? Like, how was dinner last night? How's the city?
Yeah. Kids are good.
Yeah, like I never tried to do that. Guys would try to do that to me all the time, just kind of buddy up a little bit. And I'm like,
I'd be the worst. I'd be out there, but hey, George, man, how you doing, pal? Yo, Becca's good.
That's the problem. Every time I play sports, I'm a talker in general in life. I got to play soccer with my buddies on Monday nights. So it's more like, pick up, but we still take it seriously. Yeah. I'm like, if a guy fucks, I'm laughing, I'm joking, I'm talking shit, and other guys are getting pissed that we're losing, and then it looks like I'm not taking the game seriously, even though I'm trying. But that's the kind of guy I am. But at the end of the day, no, very different. But like even when I was playing back in the day, I played baseball. But the thing is though, like at the end of the day, again, never played at that high level, never played hockey, never had to scrap one of my friends, but. Like you're there, you're getting paid to do a job. Yeah, it's not like if I walk into my office, I got to scrap somebody, but it's still a job to do. Whether you're my friend or not, you leave like personal relationships at the door. Yeah, and at the end of the day, business is business, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I see it. But there's guys that I played with that didn't shut up literally the whole game. You know who I was thinking of as we were saying that same Mike's guy? Remember Cramarosa, Joseph Cramarosa? He's a couple years younger, but my God, I played with him. Just another example of a guy, good and bad, just would not shut up the entire game. And it'd drive me nuts. I'd get there in between periods and be like, dude, I'm on your team. Can you shut up? Like,
I'm tired of listening to you right now.
Yeah. But no, I always like to keep it as business as possible and then straight back to casual once it was done.
Yeah. One step off the ice.
Yeah. Favorite barn you played in? And then least favorite as well.
I want to take out Toronto for sure. Like I say Toronto just because I'm from here, born and raised, Leaf fan. But I'm going to say Madison Square Garden. That was the first one for me. A Bell Center in Montreal is right up there, 1A, 1B. But MSG was the first one where I'd never been before. And so when you literally drive in, right? Have you been to like a concert or anything like that?
I've never like driven into it or anything, but like I've attended as a fan.
Yeah. So like, the bus just parks in right in downtown Manhattan, and you have to walk up this huge ramp It's massive. And then you get up there and just like the Zamboni doors open and it's just like, it's like heaven, man. It was like one of the coolest like starstruck moments that I had. And then just playing there against like the iconic like Rangers jerseys, and in between every, whistle, they have like a celebrity sighting. So there was like, Kendall Jenner and these people are at the game, and I'm just like, this is pretty cool. I'd say that was up there. And then Montreal is unreal, and Chicago, United Center in Chicago is
original
elite as
6
well.
places, yeah.
Yeah,
original 6
you're
arenas, but-
you're right though. Boston's awesome as well. I got to play in the old Joe Louis before it got turned down. Yeah, basically all the original sixes.
All the original
Yeah,
sixes.
I know.
But then there's a lot of these.
There's some really cool ones. Like Nashville is unbelievable. Nashville's awesome.
Smashville.
It's right
That's
on
one of my favorite
Broadway.
nicknames in sports.
Nashville, yeah. Man, it's pretty cool. Like I was a 24-year-old, young kid getting to go into these buildings every night, and everyone was just like cooler than the next one. But no, I'd put a lot of those original 6 ones were at the top for me, for
All
sure.
right. On the other end, worst.
Well, now I'm going to get in trouble with some fan bases here. I didn't like going into
Okay, least favorite, we'll call it that.
Columbus, maybe.
Okay.
It just didn't have a great atmosphere, and they have this cannon. So you've never been to a game there. They have a cannon that they shoot off after every goal, and it's the loudest thing you've ever heard. I literally jump out of my seat. I know it's coming every time, and I jump out of my seat on the bench every time. That one was always tough. And no, California was good. Raleigh used to suck. Carolina used to really suck. They used to get like 5,000-6,000 fans, but they've brought hockey back. They're pretty good.
Well, have you seen what? I'm sorry to cut you off. Arizona. So Arizona just they're getting a new sports complex to replace the current arena that they're in. I think they're moving from Phoenix to
Glendale to Tempe.
Yeah.
Where
Sorry,
ASU is. Yeah.
So now the new stadium's only 6,000 or something.
What?
Yeah.
It's like
they're hoping to get a deal done before, so they don't have to end up doing that. But it's looking more and more like they're going to be playing in the university rink where ASU plays.
But they're going to renovate it. But the thing is, like, Arizona gets what? How many fans? They have one of the lowest attendance in the league.
They average like 6 or something a game. When we played them with Edmonton, it was almost packed because all the snowbirds come down. That's like a big Western Canada spot to come down.
Okay.
But if they're playing, Dallas on a Tuesday night, you're talking less than 10,000 for sure.
Yeah. So they were saying, I was listening to some, I can't remember who it was, but he's saying this might be one of the best things to happen to hockey in Arizona, because they'll go from having this, once a month packed stadium to every night they'll be slammed, selling out. Yeah, it's going to be half the size, but the atmosphere in there would be like real hockey fans who want to go, not these, students or snowboards coming down, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it'll change it. I'd love to go play there. I think that'd be awesome. I just don't know if they can do that for like 3 years. That's
6,000 people.
How do you make money?
I know, and the profits. So that looks down on our escrow too. Escrow will go up, so we have to pay for those teams. Other teams have to pay. It comes out of the players' salaries, whatever teams are losing money. It's called escrow, and the percentage changes every year. And so if they're getting drilled in money, we've been paying for them for years now. So hopefully they get their shit together. And
it's crazy. Did they sell recently, or is it is it Phoenix Suns are selling? Anyways, I could be mixing them up. But I'm surprised they haven't sold and relocated. Like, I know that one of the things that almost all sports leagues I know is like it's universal that the leagues don't like relocating teams because it's like, number one, you don't want to have to fail in a city and move.
Yeah.
But it's interesting too to see that, like, you have Arizona that has been bad for so long, like bad in terms of quality of attendance. But then you have other teams like Quebec City, lost their team back in the day, and I bet they could pack a barn.
Well, Winnipeg's the best example, right?
3 times the size. Yeah,
Winnipeg lost their team, they came back, and they've had, to my knowledge, good attendance.
Yeah, Gary's just really stubborn. Now, on your first point, you nailed it. He just doesn't want to fail. I think they see it as a massive failure if they have to move out of cities, and it's such like a black spot on the league, and they'll do everything they physically possibly can before they have to
exhaust all of them.
Exactly,
which makes sense. But it's just interesting, like to put 6,000 in there, and like to kind of contrast that. I was we did a road trip for our startup, and myself, we had another co-founder, one of our other good friends, and we were driving through Tampa Bay, and the Jays were in town. So we're like, okay, let's go. Like we know that historically Tampa doesn't get a lot of attendance, and tickets are cheap.
And they just finished going to the World Series.
Which that's the crazy part. So Tampa, on the other hand, like you're in Florida, baseball's pretty big in like warmer states in America, but Florida especially, like you think it's a big market. They just got off the World Series. They were in first. When we went to go see them, they had like, it was maybe a week before the playoffs. I think there was 8,000 people that
And it was a Thursday or a Friday too.
Yeah, 8,000 out of a stadium that I think holds like 3 times that, maybe 4 times that.
Yeah, Tropicana.
Bizarre. I was like, and we sat like next to the Jays dugout for like, I don't know, $40 or something like that. Like it was crazy. I don't get that. Like you have markets here, like if you have the Raptors and the Leafs making playoffs one time, you got 10,000 people outside the arena. Yeah. And then in these markets, you have teams going to the World Series. Like, you can't fill them.
And it's obviously not the product. They've been played well for so many years.
Yeah.
And
their budget is like...
The Lightning do well. The Bucks do well. I don't know if it's an issue of the actual stadium. I've never been. But maybe if you had an outdoor park or something. I know it's in Florida. But it's obviously not the product that's suffering. Yeah. It's just the fan base, which is really sad to see because... That's embarrassing.
It changes even watching sports when the stadium or the arena is not full. It hurts the experience. Like even just as a spectator watching like on TV, Raptors and Leafs. I'm a big sports guy. Love Raptors, love Leafs. When there was no fans in the ACC or Scotiabank Arena, I just didn't feel part of it.
I know. I got invited to the game last week. It was 50%. I didn't want to go.
Yeah. Well, I went to Leafs and Raptors last week when there was full capacity, and it's like, this is what I want. This is the excitement because I went to a game back in. I can't remember if it was October, November, whenever, but it was half capacity or not. It wasn't full. And it's like, it's just weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
You know, like every 2 seconds, someone's telling you to wear your mask or someone's telling you this. There's no one around me. I got my jacket here. It's like, it's not loud. Like we talked about this before too, but when the Raptors actually dimmed the lights on the outside of the court. So all the lights was on the court. That was cool because you didn't feel how empty the arena was. Yeah. But now they changed it again. So I don't know what they're doing with that. But
well, there definitely were products like Florida in Sunrise, the Florida Panthers. They're half full every night too. And that's not even a capacity thing. It's literally just their fan base. And it ruins the environment for spectators and for players alike. It's really tough to go in there and get jacked up to play. And they're a good team. They still aren't drawing that well.
Yeah.
It's hard too. And it's interesting, especially with hockey, when you have some markets that could sustain 2 teams as well, or are close to, like Toronto. I mean, hell, probably Boston's probably pretty diehard, maybe not as big, but like, I mean, you could put easily in Toronto, I think, maybe not Toronto, but Hamilton area, or Markham something, and you could justify, you'd fill out 2 18,000 seat stadiums. So it's interesting that they you're trying to make these things survive, like Florida or Arizona, whatever. Yeah. It's interesting to see, and we'll see where it goes. But
you mentioned one thing about kind of Gary not wanting to fail. What are the players' thoughts on Gary Bettman? Because like spectators generally hate him. Like it's just like the common thing. He gets booed every time, which is crazy.
Every commissioner gets booed.
I just want to know. So I'm not going to ask you personally, but what are the players' thoughts on it?
I don't think it's positive in general. We've had a couple lockouts now while he's been at the helm.
I think he's had 2, right?
Yeah, and
a delayed start.
He's tight with the owners. The owners like him. I just don't think, in an overall sense, it's a positive vibe from the players. That's I think that's as politically as correct as I can go. Because to be honest, I wanted to get more into it when I was in the NHL. I was our player rep 1 year, and I wanted to get more into learning about this stuff. But then by the time I got into it, I was back in the minors already. So I was trying to get into it a little bit, and that was one thing. I don't have a lot of regrets, but that's one thing I wish I did was learn that side of it more with the union and, negotiations. Yeah, and just kind of get more involved in that. It's one thing I wish I would have done a little more.
Well, can you get back into it now? Like,
I probably could.
Kind of like the other side of it?
Yeah, I've been talking to a couple of people this last year and a half since I stopped playing. I've just been kind of exploring all my options, and I didn't have to work right away. I'm still doing some stuff now, but I've just tried different things and calling everyone I know and former players and stuff, because it's truly like tough. Like, it hasn't been easy trying to figure out your path after, whether you want to go into work for the NHLPA or you want to go back to school, or you want to work broadcasting or whatever you want to do. It takes some time, I think, to figure that out. Not a lot of people, I want to say the majority of people that finish playing after for so long, like me, like 11,
it's not like you just said like 3 or 4 years and that's
it. Exactly. I mean, I played 11 years. That's all you know for 11 years.
Well, more than that, because you think about it's all you know since you were probably like 13 or
you're
something.
Right.
Yeah,
you're right. I moved away from home to play junior when I was 16. So
there you go.
Just trying to figure that out. Not some guys have just a straight path. They know exactly what they want to do. They either want, they want to go to school, they want to be a firefighter, or they want to go on TV or whatever it is. And I just wasn't one of those people. I have just so many different interests and hobbies and options. Like, I don't want to say options, but I do have options. I live here in Toronto where there's, you know, so many resources around me, and I've played with so many people that I have so many resources around me. And it's just been trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. What
are one of your hobbies that people wouldn't normally associate you with? So when I say normally associate, you're a big, tough, strong man. Like, what are the hobbies that people wouldn't think that you love?
I'd say two. One I'm getting more public about is food. I'm like obsessed with food. I don't want to say I'm a foodie. I'm not like going to all these different restaurants and Instagramming it and stuff like that. But I love to cook. I love to go try new places, explore around cities when I get there. I just help produce with the help of two young kids, Max Lewis and Will, that I met. They went to Ryerson, and we produced a 6-minute short episode with Rich Clune, the captain of the Marlies, where I let him pick a restaurant and he picked Steadies, and so we did that and released that a couple weeks ago. And so I love that. Like, I love food and culture, and hopefully we can make some more of those. I'm going to sit down with the boys and see what else we can come up with, and hopefully have some nice some new episodes coming.
Yeah, it was called Post Up, right?
Post Up, yeah, Post Up. So I have a couple more restaurants lined up, and hopefully, you know, I can get that ball rolling and see where it goes from there. And then music. I love music is my thing since I've been been a kid. Play guitar, play a bunch of instruments, and I'm always going to concerts and shows and hanging out and listening. I always have, I collect vinyl, and so I have my record player at home. Basically whenever I'm at the apartment or at my house, wherever I am, there's always some sort of music going on. So music and food, I think, are the two that really kind of drive me. I'm trying to find a career where I can just eat and listen to music all day.
That would be a I can picture you just like at Budweiser stage on the lawn, just like chilling, eating like whatever food they have there. I don't even know.
No, I'm getting all posh now. I don't sit on the lawn anymore. I need seats. I used to be I don't want to say, I used to be broke back in the day. So you buy your cheap lawn tickets and go watch whoever it was, Chris Stapleton.
Great performer, Chris Stapleton. We saw him, we went there.
Yeah, whoever it was, and now I'm buying the tickets up front or calling some contact from Live Nation trying to get some tickets. So I can't wait. This should be a good summer at Bud, though.
Any shows excited for?
I saw the Lumineers were coming in with a band called Camp is opening for them too. Those are two artists I really like. I haven't had a look at the full lineup, but that was one I definitely have circled.
Yeah. The Lumineers are good. Lumineers used to be, I used to listen to them a lot.
I think we saw them at Coachella, no?
Yes, we did. Yeah. We caught a couple songs, I think.
Yeah.
So that was one where DB hated it or something.
No, Chris Stapleton he hated.
Chris Stapleton.
I took him to Chris Stapleton. That's like the year I heard Chris Stapleton, and I was like, oh, this guy's sick. And I was never really into, like, I don't even know if I guess he's country. He's definitely but he's also like I guess he's country. He's not soul or anything like that, but he's country, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. But I never listened to like that style of music. And then I heard him. I was like, oh, this guy's amazing. And then I really got into it. And he happened to be at Coachella the second time we went.
Yeah.
And one of our buddies listens to a lot of rap, mostly rap.
Yeah,
and we made him, like, we dragged him there. And it was like us, him, my brother, I think it was my brother and his fiance at the time, now wife. But we're all sitting there. It was like a good vibe. It's chill. It's like sun's coming down, and we just turn around, and he has this scowl on his face, absolutely miserable. He's like, "What is this shit?" I was like, "Man, this is art. This is real music." Anyways, that was a good concert.
We got to bring out OVO Fest back.
Yeah.
One of our buddies, actually, I'll tell the story. I won't say his name, but he took me to the OVO Fest. This is maybe about 7-8 years ago now. Calling me, Rick, you want to go? I was like, yeah. And this is like when OVO just like came out. You couldn't get tickets. Budweiser stage. And he got so drunk, he was literally pissing in the seats. We were like in the 300 level. I'll tell you off air. But he's literally pissing where he's like, Rick, just block me. I was like, bro, I don't even know how to block you. You're just lucky it's dark and nobody's looking around right now. Like everyone's just looking this way.
Well, man, going to take a leak there is a nightmare. You're gonna miss half the. You'll miss half the set.
Well, what I normally do is I'll look at the set list beforehand. So you know when it's time to like, okay, I don't love this song. I'm gonna like.
You're speaking my language. I go setlist.fm now before I get to a show, so I know. I'll look at like the last 3 ones. I know when there's a break.
That's
like,
man, because if you look at the last one, they might change it, right? You got to look at the last 3, so it's like, okay, is it consistent? I'm a big concert guy. I go to more concerts than
Rick goes to more concerts than like a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, I'm just a big concert guy. I love going to concerts,
and he will go to any concert at 16-year-old.
Yeah, I love any type of live music.
Do you know what? There's certain concerts I can't go to, like, heavy metal and like screamo kind of stuff. Like I can't do, but I don't like country music. I don't listen to country music, but I love the energy and the vibe and the atmosphere at country concerts. I went to the one with I think it was Jade Eagleson, the Arkells, and Dean Brody. Maybe it was the one back in September here.
All in one.
It was all in one night. Yeah.
Okay.
Or no, sorry. It was
Arkells would have been separate.
The Wreck Laws.
Yeah.
And Jade Eagleson.
Yeah, don't be the Arkells. Those are my boys.
Yeah,
don't be mixing up the Wreck Laws and the Arkells. Max will be mad about that.
Yeah. So they all played one show, and it was like, I don't know, Dean's Coming to Town concert or whatever. And I went with a friend of mine, and I had the best time ever.
Oh, it's a great.
Don't know a single song, but I'm like yee-hawing the whole time.
Yeah,
and just
crushing some cold beers.
No, I was having those little light bulb drinks or whatever.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, I drink those girly drinks.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, brother.
Hey, nothing wrong. Foodie, what are some of your top restaurants that you've been to, either in the city, externally?
Man, we talk about this all the time. I've been hitting up all these places now. I live over on Ossington, so the Ossington Strip is insane. Mamaka's, the Greek restaurant right across from my condo, is one of my favorite Greek spots to go to in the league.
I was actually there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I'm a Greek, so I
what was your?
I was with my girlfriend. What do you mean?
You can't invite me? Well, I can bring a date.
Okay,
bring a date. Did you approve?
Yeah, I've actually. It's really, really good. I was there. The last time I went was a few years ago, and I liked it. Like it's like a twist on. It's Greek food, but it's like they modernize it a bit, which is kind of cool. And the food's really good. The vibe was good too. It was like right after. I think like the day after, like the mandates started lifting, so capacity limits kind of lifted, and it was like packed. It was a good time. Really like that spot. Really good. They have the one next door now too.
Kukla.
Bar
Kukla right on the corner.
Yeah. I've never been, but it looks like a good vibe.
Yeah, you can't go wrong on that strip. And then as long as you go down anywhere on Dundas and Queen too, I've been hanging out at Bar Poet a lot on Queen and Dover. I love the
great
food.
Spots.
I love the food there. It's cool vibes, and
I heard their pizza's really good.
Yeah, great saws, great staff. I like hanging out there, and if I'm going maybe like a family birthday dinner, I haven't been there in a while, but Yoso's up in Dovercourt and just outside.
I've never been, but I heard good things about that
outside
too.
Yorkville is also in one of my tops for sure. But man, anywhere on the Oz Strip and anywhere close to where I'm living now, you literally can't go wrong. It's great.
It's great that it's so interesting that like there's so much happening on Ossington. Like I grew up in Mississauga. My grandparents lived at Dovercourt and Davenport, so just like north of that. And we used to drive when my mom would drop us off, or my parents, whatever. We'd go through that strip, and it was like I was scared of it as a kid. I was like, it's such a it was dingy and like really run down. And then when I hit like my early 20s, like everyone was like, "Oh, you're on Ossington." There's like Baby Huey's and
Huey's is back.
Yeah, there's and there was another one too. There were Baby Huey's.
Another bar.
Yeah, it was a bar, I think.
There was a couple.
Cote de Boeuf too. Have you been to Cote de Boeuf on Ossington?
No, I've never been.
It's a nice little Parisian steakhouse. Yeah, it's great. Sorry, I just thought.
No. I appreciate the reco.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started going, and I was like, "Oh, this place is kind of cool." Like, I think it was Huey's. They sold like Pabst Tall Boy. Like, it wasn't even like a bar. It was like someone had like a bucket in front of them, and you just walk up, give them a $5, get a beer.
Remember, wasn't it Baby Huey's that used to sell the Mickeys?
Maybe.
I don't remember.
Sounds like something on Ossington.
It was something on Ossington. They used to sell Mickeys. I remember they were $100, $100 Mickeys.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But it was a cool vibe.
Yeah,
and then,
it's different.
And then like it's just kind of it's kept that character over the last like probably decade now, which is really cool. And it's I think gotten better, which is interesting because like when something starts to get kind of like hip and like a little bit up and coming, it tends to get like saturated, and then it's like it gets boring now. But like they just keep putting new places, and some of the places that have been there for a long time are still like they've stood the test of time. So it's like really cool street. The only crazy thing is it's a small pocket. Like it hasn't like expanded a bit to Dundas, but
pretty much ends in between Queen and Dundas.
Yeah,
it's
like 5 blocks. And
it's an area of the city that I never really explored when I was young, especially like high school, but even like my early 20s, it was all entertainment district, and we
Richmond,
were going,
Peter,
Richmond, Peter, going to, Grace O'Malley's and Piccadilly Circus back in the day, these places. And then, you get in your mid-20s and then it's King West, and, you're going to wherever you're going.
Cheval, Century
oh
Room.
my God. Yeah, those are throwbacks.
Century Room's coming back.
Yeah. Now it's like, Early Mercy and these places. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then I just kept moving. I just kept getting further and further west until I ended up on Ossington now. And I don't really love to go out anymore. Like I love it, like a nice long dinner, like an 8 p.m. dinner, and then you get into the wine and get some cocktails going after.
We literally just started
like.
doing these. So we do a monthly dinner, first Friday of the month. So we usually do every year, we do a Christmas dinner, the boys. There's 6 or 7 of us, 8 of us, whatever. And it started about, 6 years ago now?
Yeah.
2015, give or take.
Yeah.
And we do it once a year. But the thing is, we used to hang out all the time, right? Because we were all best friends. We all went out.
Be out every weekend together.
Every weekend. So it wasn't a big deal. Well, now, one guy gets a girlfriend, 2 guys gets a girlfriend, one guy
couple
gets
guys married.
Yeah. So we did our Christmas dinner. We're like, this is the first time we've all been together in like months. Okay.
This was a longer time. Probably the pandemic.
Yeah, because of the pandemic and everything. It's like we hadn't seen each other in forever. So we said it was going to be once a quarter. We were going to do a dinner. Right? That's how it started.
That was originally the plan.
Yeah. And then it was kind of like, hey, you guys just want to do this once a month?
Yeah.
And now we do it. Now we kind of even do it.
We have like 5-6 hour dinner. We go to pick a restaurant and sit down for like 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
No, eat, drink a little bit, like hang out. And it's like, to your point, that's more like, don't get me wrong, it's fun to go to a bar, it's fun to socialize, but like sitting with the boys, or even with if you're on a date, whatever it is, just like sitting there and just hanging out and like
good conversation, good food, good drinks.
But that's what I live for these days.
You can't. It doesn't get better.
Does someone get to pick the restaurant of choice? Does it rotate or something, or is it group
usually
decision?
I'm the one that Ricky's actually the one that plans a lot of stuff in our group.
I leave the food to the experts.
Yeah, bigger guy. I kind of picked a couple that I like. I'm gonna give a shout out to probably the first one we did is at La Castile in Etobicoke. Yeah, good one of my favorite steakhouses in the city. Like old school. It literally looks like kind of like a very fancy barn inside. I don't know how to explain it.
It almost feels like the mixture between like a really nice fancy barn / church feel.
Okay, nice.
Because they have the what are those
stained glass?
The stained glass,
yeah,
with all the colorfuls.
It's like
it's arches and stuff.
It's a good spot. La Castile. I'm giving them a shout out because they've always been good to me.
All right, nice.
But we did that, and then I was like, okay, we just want to go next month. I'll book something, and it's funny now that we're even doing this. Even some of our buddies that aren't necessarily the planners, aren't as like they'll leave it to us. Now they're like, well, let's try this one and this one. So it's cool. Like the guys are getting fired up by it.
Yeah.
So last one we did was at Choto Mate. Downtown.
Yeah, I've heard I still haven't eaten there yet.
It's funny. I had mixed. So first time I went,
the immersion bar. He's got all the bright lights and colors.
Yeah. It's like neon, like paint.
Yeah. Okay.
It was good. First time I went like back in December for like a client lunch. I had an amazing time. We went back, left something to be desired this time.
Okay.
Service could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, just okay. You know what? When you're paying top dollar, I was just it was good. I had a good time. But you're just expecting more, right? So maybe that was our expectations that we went in with high expectations. True. But overall, it was still a good meal.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for. But I love that. I love you're saying that line about people are like looking forward to it now. Whereas group dinners now, people are just wondering, are we gonna
2 hours and then we get to get out of it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But
no, this is one where the boys are fired up all the time for this.
Oh, sure, we good.
No, you're good. Nice. It just went.
Oh, there we go. We're
good. But yeah, what about away when you're on the road? What are some other good restaurants or ones that really stand out? You look back like, next time I'm in this city, I need to go to this spot.
If you ever go to Edmonton, I'll give you recommendations. It's like,
that's that hit back. That's that Buffett hit coming back 10 years later.
Oh man, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, you guys are saying the same thing.
No, Vivo in Edmonton, I got to shut them out. Vivo restaurant, that's one of the best. And I couldn't even say specifically. I just remember cities because, like, going into New York would be one of my favorites. American Whiskey in New York is probably my favorite bar there. It's right down the road from MSG. I used to go in there all the time.
American Whiskey?
Yeah, it's right in downtown Manhattan. That's a great spot. And I'd have to think off that's right off the top of my head. Yeah. Always going to LA, like going to Catch or something like those trendy restaurants in LA. It was always cool, which is cool. I got to do stuff like that. But off the top of my head, nothing really come to mind. Just more cities in particular, not any like restaurant in particular.
Is it? You always hear the rumors about the NHL players. they always either do credit card roulette or it's like, the big dogs will pay for it. What's the actual truth behind these? When you do like a big team dinner.
We didn't leave. If there were like 7 or 8 guys at a meal with all the guys I play with in Edmonton, there wasn't one dinner we didn't play roulette. And I hated it. So it was like Taylor Hall, like Nugent Hopkins, Eberle, Justin Schultz, Sam Gagne. We had a great crew. And then like towards the end, like my last year, it was like Leon and like Connor. But like, yeah, we go for these dinners night before. So let's say we fly into a city, we fly into Boston, and someone would always already have a reco. It was usually like a steakhouse. We like going to nicer steakhouses, and yeah, the bill would come at the end, and it was always like, it wasn't even like a question. It was just hat off. Someone would just go hat off and just start passing it around. And
you're like, fuck, please don't pick my, please don't pick my, please don't pick my. I was making you're making money at the time. Like I wasn't broke by any means, but like spending that $10,000 dinner,
spending $1,000, $2,000 some nights on a dinner, like, and it wasn't usually that much unless we got into the wine, unless we like didn't have a game for a couple nights or something. But it was always scary getting down there. But I had some guys always look after me. I remember I always showed out Nugent Hopkins because he would pull a couple times. Like if I lost, he just you just grab the bill and slide it over him. Just be like, don't worry, I got this. Like he's making 6 sheets or 7 sheets at the time. Like I'm like making minimum, which is still like a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But big difference between the minimum and 6.
Ebbs was good with that too. Like Everly would pay, and then we always had older guys. Teddy Purcell was always good at that. Where if we were out and there was 3 or 4 of us, someone would just say, "Hey, I got it tonight." So it was always different, and thankfully I didn't have to pay for too much of it because those guys were really generous. I was generous to them on the ice. You
had their back.
I had their back on the ice, and they had my back off it. So
you're like, I'm gonna take this, Chris O'Neill. I got you.
Yeah,
I got you, Gagne. Don't worry. You got dinner. I got this one.
You got those steaks for me. All right, let's go. We're throwing hands.
Yeah, no, it was a good relationship we had with a lot of those guys.
That's good. When you're on the road, like when you're visiting cities, is it still mostly going out with your teammates, or is there times where the other team, like you have boys in the city or on the other team, are they calling you up?
Yeah, it happens a lot. I have like good buddies that I won't see every time, but definitely, and sometimes if we just like fly in the night before and we get into the hotel at 5 and we just have a couple hours to grab a meal with the boys and go back, I won't be calling anyone, but there's friends that I have that have moved to different places. And then even, you're right, guys on other teams for sure, especially if you got traded from somewhere. So when I moved from Edmonton to Jersey, I think when we came into Edmonton, we all had dinner the night before the game. Me and Taylor were in Jersey at the time, and Darnell Nurse picked us up from the hotel, and we got to see a couple of those guys. So that's the thing I was going back to before, where it was all casual the night before, having a couple pints, and you have a nice meal, and then as soon as you get on the ice, it's just like game on again. I don't care if you pick me up from the hotel. I'm going to run you through the end wall here tonight, but. Yeah, there's always different things. And then sometimes I would just do my own thing. Like sometimes if we had a couple days in the city, I would just end up cruising around for a couple hours, and then I'd find myself at some restaurant. New York was perfect for that. Boston was cool to cruise around in. Before you know it, I was like 2 miles from the hotel, and then I was just, finding a cool little restaurant and eating
a little mom and pop shop.
Talking to the bartender and just eating a meal by myself. So I did a little bit of everything, kind of mixed it up. Yeah,
it's good because you get the opportunity to do it, right? Like a lot of times, hockey you play 3 games a week.
Yeah, mostly.
So usually you fly out the next morning, so you have that day between, and no flight is too far in hockey. What's the worst flight? 6 hours? 5? No, 5 hours.
Not even that.
Montreal to LA or kind of maybe Vancouver to Tampa, but you never do those direct. Usually you're playing a couple teams in between, no?
Sometimes it changes. That's usually like your flight home. Like we would, if we were, doing the Pacific and the Southwest swing, we would probably hit Denver, Arizona, and then you go play San Jose, Anaheim, LA, and then
that one flight home.
You get to stay in LA for the night, and then
that flight home's you're hurting on that one.
Yeah, we always try to push it back. They'd say 8 a.m. flight. We'd just be like, can we make it at 9 or 10? Give us a couple extra hours.
Bargaining with the GM.
Thank God, it would always be the next morning, and there was always some boys just barely stumbling to get on that plane the next morning. It was always fun. But then you'd hightail it back up to Edmonton, and most times it was 4 or 5 hours and a 30-degree weather change as well. You're going from shorts and a t-shirt to gray goose jackets and long pants. So,
did you say gray goose jackets?
Yeah, or
Canada
gray goose jackets.
Man's already thinking about the weekend, eh? Man's already thinking about the weekend.
I had the booze on my mind. Yeah, I even wore my goose jacket here. Yeah. Gray goose jacket.
We got you. Gray goose. We need him. Get him a jacket.
That's sponsored.
Funny, one thing that's interesting too, like I want to jump back because one thing you said that, which I mean, you had obviously like a long career, like we've actually looked this up one time, like way back in the day. We always wonder what the average of like different sports are, and like I think 11, especially like in hockey, especially like the role you had, like that's a long career.
Yep.
And then you're talking about kind of the option what you're doing now. You're exploring, being in broadcast and all that kind of stuff, and it's really cool and fascinating to see because when growing up. When you watch athletes play, especially for like as long as you have, you're like, wow, this is a long career. This person's been playing hockey forever, and it's so fascinating because we sit here in our early 30s, and like that's kind of like you could have a whole career and a whole life, and then you realize you now kind of want to move on to something else, and you can do maybe not anything. You can't go be a brain surgeon, but like you can. I mean, you really can do anything, right? You kind of say, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy? And all this stuff, and you can kind of figure out, okay, the next 10 years of my life, what do I want to do? And you can go and call your buddies up who have been in the show as well. Call up whoever it is. Maybe you want to explore being an agent, whatever. I don't have much of a point on this, but I think it's really fascinating that you can have so many, like you can have a career as a pro athlete. You can go into finance, go into repping players and all that stuff. And, it's really fascinating. At least viewing it as an outsider, I think it's really cool.
I think that's what people have tried to instill in me this whole time as I've been, kind of struggling. Like it hasn't been easy, like I said, struggling to find that, but they're like 11 years, like that's a decade. Like it sounds like a lot. It sounds like kind of a lot, and to me, it felt like forever. But that's nothing. It's literally a small sliver of your life, and now it's like you said. I've taken a year and a half, almost 2 years off now, and I can get to completely reinvent myself. And I feel like I don't know if it's pandemic or if it's retirement. Or what it is, if we've gone through
in the pandemic, like
both simultaneously, some sort of universal shift here. But I'm very different from
it's the moon. It's the moon. The moon's not aligned right now, or something.
But not completely different, just very different in the way I kind of see life and the way I approach different things in different situations. I think I'm a little more patient now. I'm trying to be. But I had. I don't know. It took a lot out of me, and it's great. Like what you said, you can kind of reinvent yourself and find some of those hobbies and talents and discover something that you love. And maybe that's something a little less stressful than my past career was.
Yeah. So. But George, you said it because it's perfect. You were a vet in playing hockey. 11 years is a long career, but in the real world, it's literally nothing. Are we vets? In our careers at all. We're 31. You're what, 32 now?
33. Yeah.
The one example that I always find interesting. So I grew up. I mean, both Ricky and I, we grew up in entrepreneurial families. Our fathers work in they have service companies, different types of service. But anyways, I grew up seeing my dad. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to run a business one day. And when I was finishing university, I was like, oh, I have to do this right away. At 22 years old, I got to get in here and I got to learn. And by 30, I'll be like running the company, all this stuff. I'm 30 something now, and I'm like, oh, I still have so much to go. I don't know shit yet. Like I've barely scraping the surface.
Yeah.
Do I think I've experienced a lot? Sure, but like there is so much ahead. And I'm starting to really appreciate it now at the age I'm at. But not only that, now I look and see buddies who are lawyers and doctors, and they're like just finishing school a couple years ago. And if you think about it, like you don't really start figuring out who you are, what you want to be, what you want to do, like honestly, until like I think at least you're 30. Some people hit it earlier, whatever, but
I think some people think they do too.
For sure. I did. I thought 24 years old, I'm like, oh, I can do this.
I have this whole thing figured out.
Yeah, you think it like, especially like, you have an ego and you have to get that in check, and you need a couple humbling experiences to really figure that out. But one example that always like, it always kind of brings me back down to it, especially lately, and it just kind of put life in perspective from a career sense. Warren Buffett, I was reading his annual shareholder letter today, and the first part stood out to me the most is that he says, it's been a privilege and an honor for you to trust in us to manage your money for the last 57 years. He is 90 something years old. So he's done what he's done for 57 years. That puts him at about 30 when he started. and it's not all about money, but he didn't really make his fortune until he turned 50 onwards. Like he was Warren Buffett, but he was not Warren Buffett and whatever, which is really fascinating. Like life is so long, you have so much time, and like, 30 is still infancy, really, right? So anyways, I'm not trying to be a positive, put a spin on this, but I think it's, just as I've gotten older as well, I kind of see that, this is like when you're kind of just really figuring shit out and hitting your stride. And even still, we just had a failed startup. Like we're in our 30s, man.
Well, it's been cool to talk to other people like this living in the city now. There's so many people going through the same thing that even though not people didn't retire from hockey, but so many people in their, young professionals, I guess you would call them, 28 to 32, kind of where I'm hitting now, just trying to figure it out as we go.
That's the exciting part. It's like it's not like you need to figure out right now or else, you can't put food on the table or whatever. It's like, you've made a career, you have options, taking your spin at broadcasting. Maybe you do post up and that's kind of what you decide to do. Maybe it's something to do with food. Maybe it's music. Who knows, right? Yeah. You have options, and obviously you've made the connections too, which is great. So it's exciting.
It is. I think I have to keep that outlook on it all the time. Yeah. Sometimes I get down and I'm like, what am I doing here? I should be doing more. There's days where I don't have anything going on and I'm like, I should be doing more. But I think it's exciting. The world has kind of opened itself up, and I just got to keep exploring and keep figuring it out as we go.
I love it.
I think the biggest thing too that you have going for you, like, playing competitive sports your whole life and playing at the highest level, like you naturally have drive, you have discipline, you have that kind of like, that hunger, like to do it, right? So I'm sure whatever, like those are not transferable skills, I guess. You select few people develop those and have the kind of career like that. So, those are universally applicable to any profession, right? So
plus whatever it is that you have the fact you played in the show,
that's always nice to have on the resume.
I'm sure you decide to do something and put that I played in the show for a bit, hey, Connor McDavid, I played with him, me and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Good St. Mike's boy, too.
Yeah, I know. I like throwing that around. Yeah, but St. Mike's. Yeah, it's good times, eh?
Yeah, great times.
Yeah.
Are you still friends with anybody from St. Mike's?
Yeah, I still got my boys. We have our group chat. Yeah? There's still 4 or 5 of us. One just got married in September. One's getting married in May. So guys have started to move away and separate a little bit, but I still got small select crew of guys that I still keep in touch with.
Pretty. Yeah, you were boys with Liambus too, right?
Yeah, he's one of my best buddies still.
Yeah, I'm still friends with his younger brother.
Him and his family I've known since we were in grade 7.
Oh, similar. You got a similar story or you guys both kind of had a similar story, right? Both kind of tough guys. He played pretty long time too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not as long as you,
I think he was the same time as me. I think he was 11 years or maybe he was 10 years or something like that.
Regardless,
right around. He is the epitome of character and heart and determination. Guy should write a book. He's played in every league you can play in and fought his way from the bottom to the top.
He's also not as big as you, right? So being a tough guy is...
pound for pound, he's one of the toughest that I've ever seen, and probably the hardest and best hitter I've ever seen and played against. And just like the nicest, you met him, you know him, right? He's the coolest guy off the ice.
He's someone that always remembered me when I see him. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I'm friends with his brother, but hey Rick, how's it going? Man, that's nice. Thank you.
He's got a young family, and he has this whole woodworking company on the side, Nomadic Design. Shout out to him and his company, and he's just a beauty off the ice as well. One of my best buddies still.
Good man.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about coaching?
Yeah, I have. I really explored that option when I first retired. I was like, that's always what I thought I wanted to do. And then the more
hockey schools and shit.
Yeah, stuff like I think I could do that, like coaching skills and training off the ice, like summer camps and stuff like that. But I don't think I would ever go. Not ever. Sorry, never say never. But I'm not exploring going into actually coaching like in the OHL or in pro at least yet. I found that the time that I've taken or that I got to take off hockey, probably like the first year of the pandemic, I don't think I even watched a game or skated anywhere. Not that we could, and that was nice. It was a really nice break to just like turn it off for a little bit. And then as time went on, I got a little bit more and more hungry. I got the itch. And then the broadcasting thing happened. Now I'm watching hockey all the time. And now I've got the itch even more to get on the ice. I still haven't skated. Like I've done, played shinny maybe a couple times.
Ask, play any men's league at all?
Nothing. I don't play at all.
No downtown hockey league?
I haven't put my gear on since my last professional game.
You got to play in the downtown hockey league. You'll love it.
Oh, I got invited this year.
Oh man, it's I'm obviously not good at hockey, but I'm a decent men's league goalie, like a good B League men's league. You remember Rob Sweeney?
Oh yeah,
from St. Mike's. Yeah. So I played men's league hockey with him. So we were B in the ACHL league and we won it all, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm decent. I played in some boy called me. He's like, Rick, we need a goalie. The downtown league. It's the A level. I'm like, look, straight up, like A's. I know this league. A's good, like too good for me. No, you'll be fine. We won 9-8 or something. I got 8 goals.
You got dusted for eight goals.
I only had maybe like 15 shots. Like just every guy comes out. It's like
tough.
Remember, it's not that the game is super fast. It's just like all old like NHL players, OHL players, and just dudes that got great hands and just fire rockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all perfect passes, like just. And I'm like, all right, I just got fucking absolutely lit up, but at least we won. So like, I got called like 2 weeks ago. I was like, no, man, my ego cannot take this again.
No, I got invited. I've been invited. I couldn't do ASHL. I don't think I'll do ASHL ever again.
You're just too good for it.
Well, and I got asked to scrap like every game. Guys were literally like slashing me, and I was just like, you have to go to work tomorrow. It's 10:30 on a Tuesday night. Like, leave me alone. Yeah. And then even the downtown one, I don't know, man. My body was it still is pretty banged up. I've had 4 operations on my shoulders, my hands and wrists and knees are all banged up. So I've been really enjoying just like training. I go do spin classes and I do some yoga and like that's about it for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like to
different training regimen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I know that's an unfair assumption. Do you guys do you guys do yoga and spinning?
We never did anything like that early in my career, and then by the end of it, it was more functional movement. Especially in the summer, you see guys doing Pilates, yoga, bar classes. Like guys are trying everything now rather than just going in and putting 400 on a squat bar. Guys still do that, but like guys are just getting more functional with their movement. And now I like it's easy, not easy for me now too, but I like riding the bike, and I go to spin and. Yeah, do some yin yoga and some Pilates, and that's about it. That's all the body needs these days.
That's it.
Pilates is fucking hard.
Yeah.
I did.
We talked about this too.
Yeah, Studio Legree that's down here.
Oh, I've done a couple of Legrees.
Holy
in my day.
shit!
Yeah.
You want your ego to get checked? Never. Like you can. I don't care how. I mean, I'm not the epitome of like health and fitness, but at one point in time, I was training pretty hard for some competitive stuff, and man, it is.
Humbling.
It's humbling to say the least.
Yeah,
but it's a killer
those
workout.
Reformers are no joke.
Man, you got those little like 90-pound women. Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah,
like,
I'm just leaking. Yeah,
and I'm like struggling. I'm like, I'm way more jacked than you. Like, how is this happening?
No. Yeah, no, I haven't done a Legree in a while. Just sticking to the basics. Like, I think spin's usually the hardest thing I'm doing, and I don't mind. I enjoy that. It's nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we're at that point, George, unless you got anything else?
I'm good.
No. Well, Luke, obviously appreciate you coming on.
Yep.
And normally I would say what's on the horizon for you, but I feel like we got a glimpse of everything that's kind of going on. Obviously, I'm assuming we'll see you on some more broadcasts for the Edmonton Oilers. Any kind of national stuff?
No, not yet. So hopefully the next couple Oiler games will be on national broadcast again, so people from Ontario can watch them.
Well, there's a bonus. There's possibly the greatest player of our generation, or not of our generation, but of kind of right now playing on the Oilers. That helps. And
I'm hoping the Oilers make the playoffs so that we can get some playoff hockey, and I can maybe jump in those games. But yeah, hopefully get the call for some more Sportsnet stuff, and then working on my own projects on the side. Hopefully get another couple post-up episodes going, and just bouncing around the city. See what happens next.
Well, you're also part of the All-Star Gala committee.
Yes, I'll help organize that event Friday, June 3rd at Toronto Event Center. Sick Kids All-Star Gala. That should be a fun one. First time in 2 years. Yeah. So tickets will go on sale for that at the end of the month, and it should be a great time as well.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll post a link for that in the bio as well. But other than that, Luke, thanks for coming on, man. This was an absolute pleasure. Glad we got to finally do this.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. Unreal.
Perfect. All right, guys, if you made it to the end of this, we appreciate you. Give Luke a follow on all socials. We'll tag him in the bio. And other than that, until next week, guys, cheers.
Peace.
Beauty.